Hello, good morning, and welcome to a Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Here we are at dawn, actual dawn, not nighttime like it usually is when I do these. Here comes the sun, as the Beatles might say. This is going to count for Friday because tomorrow I know is going to be like crazy scheduling, so I don't want to bother with it. It'll be too much trouble. And we're doing Fandango Friday tomorrow evening at 5:30 anyway. Any liquor or liqueur. Here is I got two rye whiskeys, and this is Old Overholt straight rye whiskey, introduced in Pennsylvania in 1810, the brand, not this particular variant, but moved to Kentucky, and the Old Overholt distillery in Pennsylvania is an abandoned property today. So it's owned by James B. Beam Distilling, a subsidiary of Suntory Global Spirits. So still a straight rye, but it's no longer Pennsylvania rye, it's Kentucky rye. And you'll notice when I'm trying to get it to focus. Finally, made in KY, made in Kentucky, Commonwealth of Kentucky. You'll notice it's the standard Jim Beam bottle. Beam's 8-star, Old Granddad, Old Crow, they all use the same bottle. Some are brown, some are clear. Red cap, introduced in 2020. It was $15.98. I paid $15.98. For now, about $19, $19.99, $18.99. Aged 3 years, 86 proof, non-chill filtered. Johnnie Walker High Rye, introduced the next year, 2021. This was all during the scamdemic. The next year, Johnnie Walker High Rye. I paid $19.99 for this one, and it's still at Walmart, and they got a lot of it left too. Talk about my Walmart. I can't answer for yours. No age statement, 90 proof, so 45% alcohol versus 86. Now, in the last video, I was confused. I was saying 86, but it was really 80. I forgot it was only 80, the black cap. I had listed the right proof, but I was saying, all right. So they decided 5 years ago, a little higher proof. They kept it at 3-year age, but then they decided it's going to be non-chill filtered. This is non-chill filtered. And there's another one that came out in late 2022, the current one. It's not this. It looks the same, but it's not. We'll get to that tomorrow, Saturday. All right. So this one, the one I have is actually discontinued as of 2022. I need to put that in the notes. Retired in 2022. Although most people, including myself, didn't see the new bottles till 23. All right. I'm going by what I paid. I can't answer for, because Total Wine showing $31.99 for Johnnie Walker High Rye. I paid $19.99. So I paid $15.98, $19.99. So $4 and a penny difference in my case. And I think the Johnnie Walker is better, and I think it'll win, which will put me at 9 wins, 2 losses. And I'd be pleased with that. Not super delighted, but pleased. I wish I'd be at 100%, but it's hard when these are similar one to another. You think they're very different. They're not. Now, if it's blended Scotch whiskey, can it still be rye whiskey? Certainly. It's 60% rye. Now, in the United States, it would technically not be a rye whiskey because they're aging it in used barrels. Fill oak, but also reused or refilled American bourbon. So they would have to call it, in the United States, I'm saying if it was made here, they would have to call it High Rye American Blended Whiskey. Same thing, really. But except that true American rye whiskey has to be aged in new charred oak barrels. So that is the difference. But in Scotland, they don't have that charred barrel requirement. See, they can use new charred oak barrels if they feel like it. That's fine, but it's not required. All right. So from Diageo, the owners of Crown Royal and Johnnie Walker and George Dickel and Guinness. Well, actually, Guinness started Diageo. They just used Diageo as a name for their umbrella company. It was actually all Guinness merged with another company years ago, Grand Metropolitan, and they formed Diageo, which, from what I understand, is a meaningless word. It just sounds different, like Haagen-Dazs ice cream is just gibberish. Anyhow, you'll see that indicator there, distilled under a royal warrant as an official whiskey of the British royal family. King Charles III of the House of I almost said Habsburg. Sorry about that. Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha und Battenburg. It's really Battenburg because his father was a Battenburg, or as he changed it to sound English, Mountbatten. But they decided legally they're going to call it the House of Windsor because they were trying to, I'm making a scissors gesture with my fingers, trying to cut perceived ties with Germany. Because remember, the British royal family came from Germany. The House of Hanover, they had a country in Germany, a state, where we call it a country that they own, called Hanover. So the King of England was the King of Hanover and the King of England concurrently. But when Queen Victoria came to the throne, they did not allow women to be rulers in Hanover, so her uncle had to become King of Hanover. And then his descendants continued on until 1918 when they had a revolution. And then she married Prince Albert in a can. Better let him out. She married Prince Albert of the House of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha of Germany. He was German. But I think he learned to speak English a little bit. And so that was the name. But like I said, they tried to make it sound English. When her son, Edward VII, became king, then he was of the House of Saxe, Coburg, Gotha. But then he said, his son said, let's change it to Windsor because it'll sound better. So it's just a made up name. It'd be like if I changed my name to LABR, Louisiana Beer Reviews. I would legally change my name. Wouldn't be my actual name. Okay, but anyhow, King Charles III, King of Scotland, King of Northern Ireland, King of Australia, King of Norfolk Island, King of Gibraltar, King of the Cayman Islands, King of the British Virgin Islands, so forth, other realms and territories around the world. Now, I think this darker one must be the Old Overholt, and this lighter one, amber one, must be the Johnnie Walker, but I'm not sure, but I think so. I'm going to have to close my eyes. So this whiskey's from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and this whiskey's from Scotland, which is part of the Commonwealth of Nations. And a Commonwealth means a state. Pennsylvania, Kentucky, what else is it? What's the other ones? Virginia, Maryland, I think. They just use the term Commonwealth instead of state, but it's the same meaning. It means the same thing. So Scotland is part of the Commonwealth of Nations, which would be like the state of country, like a country of countries, if that makes sense. Nations, the English nation. That's a nation is tribe. The English nation, the Scottish nation, the Irish nation, the Papuan nation, the Papuan people, Papua. Those are nations. A nation state is when a nation has its own country, like the Irish nation state. The French people have their own state, France. The English have their own state, England. The Welsh have their own state, Wales. The Scottish have their own state, Scotland. Get it? Germans have their own state. Germany is a nation state. The United States and Canada are not nation states. They're made up of nations. The French, the English, the original Americans, the First Nations, the Indian nations, Cherokee, Iroquois, the Sioux, Seminoles, Creeks, so forth. Atakapa Indians. Australia, same thing. It's not a nation state. There's the Aboriginal people. That's a nation of people, but they don't have a state. They're under the authority of Australia, which is made up of mostly English people, but they have all kind of immigrants from around the world. Portuguese, a lot of Portuguese over there, and everything. Okay, so that's just a little lesson. We used to learn that in geography. When I taught geography, we had to learn the difference between a nation state and a country. A country can be a nation state, but all countries are not nation states. And all nations don't have a country. The Kurdish people is a tribe of people, a nation of people, but they don't have a country yet. The Azerbaijanis, they do. The Armenians, they do. The Czechs do. The Slovaks do. The Slovenians, the Slavic, the Serbian people, the Croatians, the Italians all have their own state. Okay, the Cypriotic people, but they're not a nation. That's Greeks. 80% Greek, 20% Turkish. Can't stand each other. Okay, the Jewish people have their state, the Jewish state of Israel. Palestinians are working on theirs. Okay. Now, now with the new administration since Liberation Day, January 20th, 2025, will there be an official whiskey of the White House? Well, President Trump doesn't drink alcohol, but he still might get Congress to start that so he can put his own insignia. And then when we get the constitutional amendment passed where he becomes an actual king, King Donald I of America, then we'll look at that later. That project's on the Some people are so angry now. Don't have a good sense of humor, No, I told the guy at work that. He got so enraged. He said, "You done lost your mind." You ever notice that? Like, you could say something that's obviously a joke, but people will take it seriously, and it's like, really? You thought that was serious? Okay. That's kind of scary, really, that you couldn't detect obvious humor. This one has a stronger barrel note. Charred oak. I think it's the James B. Beam. The old Overholt owned by James B. Beam. Yeah, I think so. The proof, well, that might be a clue. Let's go with the taste, shall we? Sugar water. Rye, minty rye. It does seem to have that 45% alcohol at 90 proof, that body. Which, by the way, Jack Daniels used to be 90 proof until 1987. Then they dropped it very quietly to 86 proof. And then when nobody was looking in 2003, they dropped it to 80. So they was slick. They just went from 90 to 87 to 80, just quietly watered it down and figured nobody would notice. And for the most part, no one did. But yeah, they do make 90 proof versions of, you can get stronger proof Jack Daniels. No, I'm not saying, but they're specialty editions. They're not the regular old number 7, you dig? Oh, me. Oh, yeah. I don't think this could be a 90 proof whiskey over here on my right hand. It's got the rye, but I think old Overhaul is probably only 51%. I don't know that, but they're not stating it, you see. Oh, I got to remember to bring in that Canadian. I got two Canadian ryes. The famous Alberta Premium, which is 100%. Isn't it 100% or 90? It's very high, very high. I think it's 100. And then, which is only 100 proof rye I have. And then I have one from Sazerac, and it's called Canadian Hunter Rye. Hunter Rye is no percentage given. It's 90 proof, 45%, no age statement. Now I don't know if Seagram started that back when they launched. When Seagram's launched Canadian Hunter in 1984, I don't know if they had a rye tagging along with it. I never could find out. But Sazerac certainly makes it. Try finding it though. Yes, I've seen it in Louisiana, but very isolated. Very isolated. A lot of bourbon companies will put out a rye whiskey just because, well, they use rye oftentimes to make the bourbon. So they'll just put that out there for people that's interested in it. Yeah, small part of the market for them, but they'll throw it out there. You got Jim Beam rye, Jack Daniel's rye varieties, Jim Beam rye, Dickel rye. All the Canadian companies do the same thing. It's just they got it on hand already, rye whiskey, so they just make one. Probably doesn't take a lot of extra effort. And you have that subsection of the liquor world that'll buy it. It's not a particularly big part of the market, but it's there. It's always been there. It used to be big, back in the 1800s, rye whiskey was bigger than bourbon from what I read. Then it sort of faded. Didn't fade away. I got them. Two more sips, one of each. If you think this is easy, let me tell you, it isn't. It is not easy. But by virtue of this one seeming, I'm to my left hand, this one seeming a little smoother and not having that corn thing going. This one is not as smooth, a little rough, a little bit, not too much. And it seemed like it got corn as a filler, which they would make bourbon with corn. You see, they could just be taking. I'm not saying they're doing this because they're not, because Old Crow's 80 proof anyhow. Of course, they only get it 80 proof by just adding water. All you gotta do is add water. So let's say they make an Old Crow, right? And let's say it's 51% corn and 49% rye. I don't think it is that, but let's just say theoretically. And they age it 3 years. Boom, Old Crow. Water it down to 80 proof, because all they do is add tap water, bring it down to 80 proof. There you go. They might be taking that same exact ingredients, but flipping them. So then they got 51% rye, 49% corn, and they put a label on that and call it Old Overholt. And they don't water it down to 80. They can just drop it to 86. Still 3 years. Now, when they filter, they chill filter Old Crow, and they don't chill filter this one. See, so it might not be that difficult to do the flip. This is theory. This is not fact. It would still technically be a different recipe, but you'd be using the same ingredients. Like, how Taco Bell does? They got like 45 items on the menu, but they're all made from the same ingredients. They just flip them around this way, that way. It's all the same stuff. But so they don't really have to do anything differently. They just make all the product. They make the beans, they cook the meat, chicken and ground meat, beef. They got the lettuce shredded and the cheese. And it's just how they mix it and apply it. One's in the steam oven, the other one isn't. This one's got on the grill, this one isn't. But it's all the same stuff. Okay, so I'm going to say this is the Johnnie Walker High Rye. It's a little bit better, but it's not way better. I was scared, but I got it. So that puts me at 11 wins, 2 losses. And I'm happy with that. I'm not offended by that. Would I recommend both of these? Yes, I would. I really would. Now let me show you the screen share. You can see what the websites look like in case you're interested. You may not be. Here's James B. Beam Distilling Company. There's that tour place you can go to, American Outpost. I could have gone, but I was like, I'm not going to go to have them tell me about being, I want to see the distillery. Well, the distillery, I'm not going. Here's the brands. And more, every time you check the website, every month, there's more. It gets wider. Jim Beam, obviously. Product. Basil Hayden, I've never had it. Little Book. Booker's. Legend. Old Tub, I got a bottle. Thank you, David. Old Crow. Halls Creek, never heard of that before. There it is. Old Granddad, who hadn't heard of that? Claremont Steve, never heard of that before. And then these new specialty items. It keeps changing, folks. And here's Old Overholt. Established 1810. That's a true story. And it's still around. It's not the same. It's the one below. That's a Rick House. See, they're showing the bottle I have now. They're actually not showing the current bottle. The current bottle is this one over here. When you go to the website, this is the current bottle. You see what it looks the same? It does, except each 4 years. And they got the number 4 lit up in red. My bottle is 3. It says it on the back in small print. So they Bottled and Bond. I like it. My friend David wasn't too thrilled. Cask strength, 10-year aged. Oh man, it would blow my mind. And then there's all proof. They're not showing it, but I've seen it in the store. I know it exists. I saw it on the shelf. And then there's this A Overholt, really expensive one. Monongahela Straight Rye whiskey. Well, you won't be seeing that one for $15.98. Johnnie Walker High Rye. There you go. Nice stuff, in my opinion. You know, you might hate it. I don't know, but to me, it's really good. There's Johnnie Walker Blonde. Never seen it except on the internet. It'll probably start showing up around here. I don't know what that is. I guess a light version, light bodied version. Gold, 18-year age. I should get it. Blue label, used to have. Red label, got it, love it. Green label, tried it, loved it. Double black, have some of that. Black, still never bought Johnnie Walker Black. After all these years, I've never tried it. People say, what? Never tried Johnnie Walker Black. Been on the market forever, since 1867. I know, I just never tried it, but it's coming. Good stuff. I mean, I think it's really good. I recommend this product. Let me tell you right now, I recommend it for you. For you. This one, Old Overholt. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. I recommend it. It's good. It's not really close to Johnnie Walker. It's more of a mixer, I guess, as people call it, but I don't take issue with it. I don't have a problem with it. It's just I prefer this one, not the prefer Scotland over America. I'm just telling you what I think tastes better. Now, is it going to be a much different story, Johnnie Walker, the current 2022 to present edition? No, what am I saying? Old Overholt, 86 proof, non-chill filtered, aged 4 years. Is it going to be much of a difference? My thinking is no, it won't be. So if you skip the video, I wouldn't take offense. Well, how about the Hunter Rye? Well, Alberta Premium first, because that's an old brand from like, what, 1880? That's going to be a different thing too. I think I'll get that one right. That's a different thing. And so then closing out with a Hunter Rye, Canadian Hunter Rye, but they call it Hunter Rye on the label. I only paid 11.98. Oh, sorry, 11.99 for that bottle at the Liquor Warehouse, called Liquor Warehouse in Arlington, Texas, on the old State Highway 180. It's an old highway. It used to be U.S. Highway 80, but they changed some things around. But that's an amazing place, man. If you go to the Liquor Warehouse, you'd be shocked. But I paid 11.99 for it. I had to buy it. Will it win? I can't see that happening. So I could possibly finish with 11 wins and 2 losses out of 13 challenges. I think that would be a great, not perfect, but a great, what, about 85%. I can live with that. And then it's on to bourbon, y'all. Next week is Bourbon Week. And I got a very rare product, Bird Dog. You say Bird Dog's not rare? What's wrong with you? I can go right to my local store and get blackberry Bird Dog, blackberry Bird Dog salted caramel, Bird Dog apple, Bird Dog peach, etc. I know. But I have Bird Dog bourbon, no flavoring, just Bird Dog bourbon. Oh, I couldn't believe it. I found it at Walmart. But we'll get to that story later, but it's a shock. When you hear the story, it's a shock. All right. Well, y'all take care now. Bye-bye. Have a good Thursday, everybody.